Hello and welcome to A Celtic World, the YouTube channel and podcast that celebrates the fact that Celtic have fans all over this great big planet. From Dingwall to Dingle, Ross County to ROSCEL, wherever you happen to be in this great big world, you're very much part of A Celtic World. That's a very Irish-themed intro today in honour of the 3 players who turned out for Celtic in this most recent game. Stephen, eh?
Yeah, always nice to see a good Irish contingent in the team. So really good to see Johnny Kenny making his debut, and it'll be a day that will live long in his memory, I'm sure. So, yeah, nice to see. Always happy to see Irish players turning out.
And always nice to see you turning out, Stephen. How are things in Manly?
Yes, very good. We're we're into the swing of the year now. Christmas is but a distant memory now, and we're charging on, both with life and with the football season. Games are coming thick and fast, and we all have a front row seat for the rolling bin fire unfolding across the city. So you find myself breaking into spurious fits of laughter. And people round about you on trains and ferries and stuff don't know what you're laughing at, but it's the latest hilarious Rangers meme that surfaced on social media. So it's all good stuff.
Certainly is. There's no shortage of it. And going over to someone who looks like he's on the Celtic board, it's David in Bangkok. Hello, David.
Hi, Gav. Hi, Stephen. Yeah, I thought I would dress up formally for the show today. Got my Celtic tie on. Show a bit of boardroom, stability here, unlike across the road with our -15 neighbours.
Absolutely. All right. Well, hello to everyone in the comments. Various people saying hello. Let's pull up a few of those. Big Des, Tam Mack, Frank Kennedy, William O'Toole, and the reprobate known as Kaiser. What's he doing lurking in there, hey? Causing mischief. David, straight from Brendan's private bunker in Spain, Bangkok. All right. So what we're talking about today, guys, well, it's pretty obvious, isn't it? We're talking about, this isn't perfect, but the Ross County game. And then just touch on a bit of punditry from a couple of our favourite pundits and whether we think they're being reasonable or not. I think I can predict where that's going to go. A little bit of transfer tittle-tattle. And then we'll talk about what you just mentioned there, Stephen. The goings-on across the road, the Sevco schism, and all the rest of it, because, that's a never-ending source of hilarity. I think you'll agree. But before we get on with the game, Stephen, tell us the circumstances in which you watched it.
Well, it was in the relative luxury of an 11:30 p.m. kickoff, which for by recent standards is positively luxurious for us. So I watched it on the couch, not in the middle of the night for once, as has been the case recently. And I finally got to bed at 1:30 in the morning, and it was even on a Saturday night, which is even better. So there was no work complications involved the next morning. So I was on the couch alone, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Don't know why you had to include the detail that you were alone on the couch. Maybe that's how you enjoy the couch, particularly.
That's right, yeah.
David, were you down the CSE in sweaty Bangkok?
Yes, yep. O'Shea's finest. Yeah, we had quite a good crowd. We had about sort of 20, 25 people. Yeah, it was a good time for a change. Long may it continue. Sadly, we won't be able to get to watch the match tomorrow night or early Wednesday morning. Similarly for the cup game at the weekend, that's possibly a bit of a challenge. I think it's about midnight. We should be able to stay open for that one. Whether I can make it personally or not is another challenge, because I've got a social golf event that starts at sort of 10 o'clock in the morning. So I think I may have to have an officer in charge for the for the game at midnight.
Very grand, very grand. Okay, well, look, let's get on with the game and, have a look at some of these pictures, which I haven't yet called up. But they are here. Let's make that full screen. And we'll start with you, Stephen. Stephen, 9 minutes in on a frosty old pitch with a weird kind of camera angle and a very weird picture. Many of these pictures are blurry. This is Adamita crossing for AJ. He gives it a little flick. Remember this?
Yeah, it was a good, nice piece of play by Ida to get the ball across, and I think AJ was just a fraction out with the time he was running and didn't get a good enough contact on it. But yeah, the pitch looked terrific. I believe it wasn't too bad to play on, but the look of it was just horrible, and it was obviously absolutely freezing up there. So I didn't envy any of the guys in the crowd or even on the pitch for that matter, and it must be a real shock to the system for guys like Paulo Bernardo, used to playing in Portugal in the nice sunny days and lovely weather, and then to go to Dingwall. Dingwall's one of the very few senior grounds that I've never been to, but I don't. I think Ross County were only in the top league after I'd left Scotland, so never been there, but it not somewhere that's high on my bucket list to visit. Put it that way. So fair play, and I think, to be fair to Brendan, he called it out after the game about how many people had travelled up there in such horrific weather conditions. So it looked absolutely horrible. My
brother-in-law apparently was born in a hospital about 300 metres away from the stadium in Dingwall. David, is it a place you know?
I do not, but listen, I don't want people to be complaining about the bad weather in Dingwall. My daughter texted me at 7:15 this morning. She was absolutely devastated that at 7:15 in Bangkok, it was only 18 degrees. And that's possibly the lowest temperature we've had in Bangkok since I arrived 9.5 years ago. So I think you can forget your -3s and your -5s, and don't forget your -15. But certainly for us, 18 degrees was was like jumper weather almost. So please bear a thought for us, please.
Yeah, there'll be no sympathy in the comments, I suspect. All right.
I mean, I think at kickoff time was like midday or half past midday, and it was -4 in the middle of the day. So I think even for Scottish standards, that's pretty cold. And you could see the snoods. Snoods seem to be very fashionable these days among the crowd and among the managers and coaches. So next time I'm back in Scotland, I'm going to get myself a snood.
You just enjoy saying that word for some reason.
I love it. It's good, isn't it? Snood.
Not sure why. Well, Hatate got pretty cold treatment here, didn't he? This was when he was taken out, David. Gets across the defender. He's in on goal. What did you make of this?
For me, it was a penalty. I think we're going to touch on Boyd and his, getting madder and madder and madder every game that you watch on Sky. But yeah, for me, you can see there quite clearly. I think that the defender's grabbed his left arm, spins him around.
That's right.
I have no doubt. Yeah, and I have no doubt that if that had been Sevco, without being your typical sort of paranoid Celt, that would have definitely been given. It definitely falls into the category of we've seen them given. I don't know if it was, I mentioned in the chat earlier on today, Hearts got a penalty yesterday, and there's only one team in the Scottish Premiership that hasn't got a penalty. And it's the Huns who have not got a penalty in the Scottish Premier League halfway through the season. I mean, we've witnessed games in the past where they had 3 in one game, but we're now 20 games into the season and they've not had a single penalty.
Must be a papist conspiracy.
I think it's global warming. I think that's what it must be.
Well,
Stephen, was this a pen?
Clearly, So it clearly all started back in Bellahouston Park in 1981 when
It was the Pope.
the seeds were sown that we're going to get Willie Collum into a position of influence, and that's the end of the penalties for Rangers. So they'll never get one again. Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, I think it was a penalty. I think it wasn't. Our cause wasn't helped by the way Hatate went down. He sort of went down as if he had made a mistake. You know, he buried his head in the turf as if he'd lost control of it and it ran away from him. But I think it was a penalty for the reasons David said there. There was no contact on the ball from the defender, and there was definite contact on Hatate. But I tried to stay on his feet as much as he could. But I think if he'd probably gone down earlier, it would have been given, or I like to think it would have been given. But yeah, definite penalty for me.
Yeah, I mean, that picture here really does show how his body was twisted around by the arm, which sent him tumbling. It was baffling to me why that sort of was brushed over so quickly. It wasn't even looked at. Anyway, but was it looked at? Was there a VAR review? Can't remember.
Well, apparently, according to the commentary, there was a VAR review and it got cleared. So, you know, I mean, we'll talk about this, as David mentioned, we'll talk about this in a while, but I noticed Chris Boyd didn't mention that incident, so let's just leave it there.
Callum McGregor here, this was a great chance. Again, I don't know if it sort of was clear when you were watching the game what a brilliant chance this was, but this was the tatty field, the ball bouncing around, just swung a leg at it, kind of connected with it halfway down his shin or something, because the ball was bobbling about so much. But, you know, you would expect him to put those away, David, wouldn't you, in a normal game?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think you know, certainly the pitch, they said the pitch wasn't as bad to play on as they thought it was. But, I mean, it still looked pretty bad. I think when you saw the close-up of the ball when Engels retook his penalty, you know, it was a bit of a ploughed field.
Shocking, yeah.
And of course, me being, you know, Hatate's biggest fanboy, I'm always looking for any excuse to justify poor performance, potentially poor performance on his part. But you said it was McGregor. If so, I don't remember that particular one. There was quite a few chances in the first half.
I remember that one. I think the defender got a foot on it. I think it was actually a really good bit of defending. He just got a toe on the ball as Callum McGregor was running through, and it just sort of took it away from him. If it's the same incident I'm thinking of, and McGregor could only stab at it.
I don't recall a foot getting in the way, but you might be right. As you said, there was lots of incidents in the first half, David. On another day, we could have had a hatful of goals.
Not for sure. Kyogo missed a couple.
Well, he does, but I think we'll come maybe to those. This is Trusty now. This is another incident that kind of drifted into the, you know, mists of time. But Trusty, as we know, very dangerous from corners. There's a ball gets whipped in, and just before he goes to head it, he gets a hand in the face, which sort of completely throws him out, and he kind of jumps up and it slices off the wrong side of his head or something. But again, nothing from the referee on this, David.
Yeah, I think again it's another one that you know, no comment from the ref or from VAR or from Boyd. You know, at half time it was all just seen as perhaps, you know, Trusty mistiming his jump. But you know, when you see in the slow motion, you know, you can see clearly, you know, he was impeded. You know, we've seen examples in the last year or so where they take these sort of single images and somehow they justify that for, you know, for penalties when it wasn't the case. But I think in this one there was definitely a clear case, a good shout for a penalty. Another one where it might have been given, you know, the other side of town. Well,
we finally got our goal. We persevered, Stephen, and eventually AJ whips the ball in for Kyogo to get on the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, just before that, I think it's worth mentioning the flick from Adam Ida. The ball came in and he just flicked it into the path of Callum McGregor, who sprayed it really quickly out to Alistair Johnson, and it was one of the very numerous fluid passing moves we had in the first half. And as you've mentioned, we should have scored a few more goals. And Alistair Johnson puts an absolutely brilliant ball in, absolutely sensational ball, right on the toe for Kyogo to just pass it into the net. So really excellent play and a great goal.
Yes, Ida's flick was like the instrumental bit of that attack, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And
well, that's what broke the lines. That's what broke the lines. That's what created the space. So I think Ida, he deserves a bit of praise for that. I mean, he's been getting a lot of criticism the last few weeks for his performances, but I thought he had a good first half. Maybe not so much second half, but I thought he had a really good first half.
He did, and the amount of criticism he's getting since this game, you'd think he was a donkey the whole time. I mean, he had a couple of really heavy touches, which sort of steal the headlines for his detractors, don't they? But I think Rodgers will be happy enough with his contribution, to be honest.
Yeah, no doubt. Again, I think the pitch doesn't help. I mean, I think Ida definitely benefits from having a better pitch for his average touch. But no, I think his back heel, as Stephen said, was instrumental in getting the first goal. So no, I thought overall first half he was okay. But it was again, it was good to have a strong bench, and I think I'm sure we'll come to Kenny later on replacing him. But I thought he did okay.
And this was his best effort, I suppose, on goal. A little back foot flick, a la Alistair Johnson earlier, which the keeper saved. So, he was certainly involved. And then
their keeper had a good game, actually.
Yeah, I think it was just after that back foot flick that then Kyogo had this point blank shot saved by the keeper. You can see Engels jumping out of the way. Do you recall this moment, Stephen?
Yeah, he just, as I recall, he just couldn't get the ball out from under his feet. It was just sort of stuck again, maybe due to the pitch. But he just couldn't get. He had to take it first time, and he had to take a snapshot, and he just couldn't get it away from the goalkeeper. So good save from the keeper, but it was. I mean, if it had been in either corner, it'd have been a goal. So from that point of view, it's a miss from Kyogo. But hot on the heels of his first, he really should have had a hat trick in the game, Kyogo. And that one he should have scored.
He should have. I guess that's him talking about where he needs to improve. And then there's this incident, David, shocking, brutal assault by AJ on the defender. Definite red card, right?
Yeah, depending on who was watching it. I think the sports scene and I think they were all shouting for red card and sort of 20 match ban, etc., etc. But from where I was watching, and I don't think they showed any replays. I mean, normally you've got about 4 or 5 different angles, but I didn't actually see an angle that showed definitely that he did push him. Now I know that AJ after the game, he was, it was a penalty, fair game. But the other thing I thought was bizarre about this one was that at no point did they show the line for the offside. Now, people have said after it that the offside was, the guy was, or maybe one or more was well onside. But for me, that was something that they should at least have been able to to show some sort of line. Again, maybe I was just reading too much into it. But it was bizarre that they couldn't find a better angle for to show that AJ had pushed him. In terms of it being a red card, that was just nonsense by Boyd. Because we'll come to the one later on where where Yang's been sort of kneed in the chest, but that wasn't even seen as as a yellow card.
Stephen, you want to weigh in on the penalty incident?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what David said. I actually didn't think it was a penalty when I first saw it, and I think that was due to the angle that we saw it. I just thought Alistair Johnson had been more physical than the attacker, and it just sort of. And Alistair Johnson alluded to this in his interview as well. He said he thought it was shoulder to shoulder, and I think it was as well. I think he's just been more physical, and he's sort of just nudged the guy under the ball. So I don't think I didn't think it was a penalty. Obviously, Alistair Johnson said, okay, he's put his hands up after the game, but if we had dropped points in the game, I'm not sure he'd been as keen to shoulder that responsibility. So I think it was in the soft variety, and as David says, there's no conclusive angle there. The only angle we can see, it doesn't really show any great contact by Alistair Johnson, and I think if the referee hadn't given, I don't think there'd have been any way VAR could have got involved and gave the penalty or asked the ref to look at the monitor. And as far as the offside concerned, yeah, again, I agree with David. It looked marginal at best, and it definitely bore some closer examination by the VAR. So I would have liked to have saw the lines drawn. I've seen a few images kicking around social media today, and it looked to me as if he's either just onside or maybe slightly off. So I'd love to see it again.
Monty says never a penalty. Big red. No, he's on the wrong side. Give the referee a decision, to be honest. Yeah. I mean, I'd be more big red than Monty there, I suspect. Anyway, let's move on. The next is on the 73 minutes. Valle's deflected shot saved. You mentioned the goalkeeper had a good game, David. It's funny when goalkeepers come up against Celtic, they've got so much to do. It's like a personal highlights reel, and if they pull off a few saves, even if they lose 4-1, people are raving about their quality performance.
Yeah, I think I think he did save them from a bit of a battering. I mean, people probably said 4-1 wasn't fair result given we got 2 goals in the last 2 minutes. But if you look at the chances we had in the first half, and then in the second half, the goalkeeper really came into a game. For me, he did well. But for Valle, I thought he played well. I don't know if Mahesh is in the chat group today, but I saw some stats between the performance of Valle compared to Taylor's average performance when it comes to sort of attacking statistics. So in terms of expected goals, number of crosses, number of shots on target, etc. He's significantly better than Taylor. And I thought it was interesting that when Valle gets substituted, it was Scales that came on instead of Taylor, who was on the bench. But no, for me, Valle played well, and he had an assist for the second goal from one of his crosses. I thought he played well. Be interesting to see what happens in the next few weeks.
Well, Stephen, another man who's been having some good games recently is Arne Engels, and everyone's very keen to sing his praises, and rightly so. Fine player that he is. He's in great form. But there was a moment in our group chat last night which I felt the need to challenge, and it was this moment here. Now, this is Arne Engels just before Kyogo's headed goal. Now, to me, this is Arne Engels winding up a shot that doesn't quite come off, whatever happens. Deflection, kicks into the ground or something, but the ball kind of spoons up with no pace on it, and Kyogo's alive to it and gets his head on it and scores a goal. Now, somebody who shall remain nameless in our group chat was saying, "Oh, what a beautiful pick out from Engels there, by what a great assist." And I thought, nah, I'm not having that. Your Honour, can you please pass judgment, Stephen?
Okay. Well, the verdict is you're talking pish, Gav.
Oh,
I think it's
what?
I think it's a magnificent cross. I think he's just tried to. Well, listen.
You usually speak sense, Stephen.
Let the
I was
prosecution
confident in coming to you.
let the prosecution make the argument, if you will. A few weeks ago, we mentioned the goal that Kuhn scored in the cup final, and the assist from Engels there when he wrapped his foot around the ball and pulled it back to the penalty spot, and we were all singing his praises for that. And I think he did the same thing there. I think he's just tried to wrap his foot around the ball. He's tried to stand it up at the back post because there's no way that's a shot. He's lofted it. He's not driven it. He's not hit it hard. He's lofted it. And
Look at the two guys.
But look at it. Look at the two guys making runs in at the back post. There, you can see Kyogo making his run already. He's on the move. Engels has seen him and he's picked him out. So I think that's brutally harsh to try and say that wasn't a cross from Engels. I think he saw Kyogo. He's hung the ball up there for him, and Kyogo's came in a really brilliant header to finish. So, I can't. I'm not having that, Gav. Sorry.
Well, everyone in the comments seems to agree with you. It seems I'm the only one who knows anything about the game, football. I'm the only one.
I think you're trying to back up. You're trying to convince yourself, aren't you? Because you weren't on the Engels bus very early on, were you?
No.
You were sort of questioning. You were questioning. Yeah, I think you were.
Hang on. I was on the Engels bus immediately, and then I was among the first to acknowledge that he had gone off the boil, or he wasn't quite doing it, which is true. And then he came back. Never doubted him as a player. Still don't. But I'm just waiting for anyone in the comments.
Maybe you got off the bus at the first stop, but. No, I mean, I think for any of us...
Jezebel, there we go. Best comment of the day.
For anyone who's played football to a superbly high level at five-a-sides in the pitches, I think that it was a great display where he was pretending he was going to welly it, and then it was the deftest of touches. There was no way that was a sclaff or a mishit. It was an absolutely fantastic pass. And again, you had Kyogo, the timing of his run. Probably you could argue that for all that the goalkeeper played really well, that might have been one he could have saved. But certainly that was a tremendous pass by Engels.
Well, we'll just have to leave it at that, but I disagree. Let the record show. Okay.
Getting back to planet Earth for a minute, and one thing I think it is worth pointing out that the game yesterday showed that how invaluable Kyogo is to the team, and how any talk about him leaving this transfer window is very, very, would be very, very risky for us, and I hope. I think we said this at the last transfer window as well. We just can't sell him during this window. If we were planning to sell Kyogo this window, we should have signed his replacement in the last transfer window. But we can't sell Kyogo and then sign a striker now and expect him to hit the ground running, because yesterday or the weekend showed exactly how valuable he is to the team and how much his contribution really counts. And he won the man of the match, quite rightly so. And he was fantastic. So I hope there's nothing in the rumours. I know Jerry's been saying for a while that they are actively looking to sell Kyogo, but I hope it's not this window. And I hope if they are planning to sell him in the summer, that his replacement comes in now.
It looks like Big Dez is going away to YouTube to check to look at that goal again and to forensically analyse it and agree with me. Hopefully. I seem to be very much in the minority here. But if I'm in that position,
I think Jezebel's your alternative login, isn't it?
If I'm in that position and I want to dink the ball to the centre circle, that's not how I approach it.
But you can see Kyogo making the run, though. You can see Kyogo making the run, so he's picked him out.
Yeah, but
I guess that's what £12 million gets for you, Gav.
Nah, there's somebody else there. Made sense in the comments. Where the hell is it? Aiden. Shot all day. He'd been shooting on sight from outside the box all match. Of course, he's winding up a shot. And maybe it was the surface. Who knows? Something caused it to not be an incredible, sublime pass, as Derek says. Don't let anyone tell you any different. Well, excuse me. Oh, God. Oh, no. Big Des. How dare you? Seen it there, Gav. It's a cross. It's a classy ball hung up, not a shot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I'm going
You
to
need
have
to
to
pull
let
your
this
head
go.
in, Gav. You need to pull your head
I'll
in,
have to
mate.
let this go.
Good effort, though. Fair plays.
I think everyone's out of step apart from our wee Johnny, as they say. All right. Let's talk about something we probably all agree on. Magnificent interception here by James Brown. Definitely not a penalty, David.
Yeah, I mean, it's the most blatant penalty you'll see. I mean, he's nowhere. You know, from that angle. Again, sometimes the angles can be a bit sort of deceiving. I mean, he's much closer to the ball there than he actually was. But even then, you can see that he's already kind of put his knee through Yang's chest before he's got close to the ball. But again, as Stephen was mentioning, Kyogo's pass for that goal for the just leading up to the penalty was magnificent. I'm hoping you're not going to tell me that you think that was a shot by Kyogo.
No, that would be madness. You think I'm some sort of fool just because you can't see what's in front of your eyes.
Sorry, just getting my wind up in advance before anything else happens. Get my retaliation in first, Gav.
Very good.
So, but I do think that Kyogo was, that as Stephen said, he adds a lot more to his game than just that sort of 6-yard box predator. It was a brilliant pass. And actually, I don't know if you're going to mention Yang, but I thought yesterday was one of his more encouraging performances. I think it was for the fourth goal where it was Yang tracking back that that was instrumental in the lead up to the fourth goal. Again, I saw a statistic that Yang's defensive tracking is almost on a par with Maeda. I don't know where those statistics came from, but I wouldn't want to certainly hang my hat on it. But I think his running and chasing and harassing has been pretty good, and I think there was some signs of optimism in terms of Yang. Obviously, we're still desperate for Kuhn and Maeda and Jamesy to come back, but I thought Yang played well yesterday or Saturday.
Yeah. I think Derek's right here to say, unbelievable the Yang penalty was even disputed. Like the commentators, you hear them talking about it, saying, look, the guy just throws his leg across him, doesn't get the ball. He was just about to pull the trigger. And they were kind of saying, that's got to be a penalty. It's got to be. As if it was inconceivable that it wouldn't be given. Yet they were having look after look after look. How can anyone in their right mind dispute that, Stephen?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as anyone who's played football at all knows that as soon as the defender, as soon as he gets wrong side, as soon as Yang gets goal side of him, if he doesn't get a foot on that ball, he's clearly, by the nature of the challenge, he's made contact with Yang. So if he doesn't get anything on the ball, and then it's a penalty. It's as simple as that. He's not got anything on the ball. He's made contact with Yang, and Yang's gone down. So the only disgrace about that was how long VAR looked at it and how many times they tried to find a reason not to give it. And the ref didn't give it to start with, which was equally ridiculous for me. Because, it's, as I said, as soon as he gets wrong side of him, there's a very big chance he's going to give away a penalty. So the ref should have been aware of that. The ref should have gave the penalty and then let VAR have a look at it. And the whole thing might have been wrapped up a lot quicker. But it was certainly a penalty, and I think anybody saying otherwise is frankly at it, to be honest, because I just don't see how you can make that argument.
Well, do we want to talk about that now while we finish off the last few moments of the game? Funnily enough, my stream went down and I missed the last two goals, which was infuriating. I saw the first penalty that was saved. And then I had the rotating circle of doom, the buffering circle in the middle of my screen, which was a nightmare. But Engels steps up and scores a penalty. That's not to be taken for granted, David. It wasn't long ago we couldn't score a penalty for love nor money.
Yeah, no, I know that obviously he missed the first one, but I mean, the goalkeeper was well off his line. He took it well. I think quite a few of his first penalties tended to be down in the same corner. But no, he took it, he took it well. Again, when you look at the close-up to the ball, it did show you how much of a field the actual pitch was. But no, it was well taken. Right into the side netting, hit with pace. The goalkeeper had no chance with it at all.
And then just to finish things off, by the time I saw what the score was, we'd scored twice, which I couldn't believe. Luke McCowan here. Interesting that he took so many touches here just to sort of set himself. And, Stephen, throughout the game, we saw people swinging at the ball and not quite getting the connection they wanted. But McCowan had the presence of mind to just, wait until the moment was right to strike the ball. Did well, didn't he?
Yeah, it was good composure from McCowan. As you mentioned, a lot of people were snatching at shots. And again, due to the pitch, he just took an extra second to get the ball under control. He obviously was aware of his surroundings. I think by that point, the Ross County defenders had more or less gave up, or switched off. But the run up to that goal, as David mentioned earlier, great work from Yang winning the ball back, and also great work from Kenny to get the ball into the box. Kind of stumbled and sort of kneed the ball into the path of McCowan, who showed great composure and stuck it in the corner. And I don't think there's people are saying, as David mentioned, that the scoreline flattered Celtic, but I don't think it did really. I think we were well worth it. I think if when you look at the stats of the game, I think we had 24 shots against their 4, and a huge domination of possession. So I think 4-1 was a fair result in the end, even although we get 2 late goals.
And on this goal, David, what did you think of Arne Engels' contribution to it?
To the one where, well, actually, yeah, sorry, I was going to say that if you listen to Boyd in one of his rants, again, look at that. Somehow Engels was stopping James Brown from somehow putting in a tackle when.
Well, if you look at that, is that not what you see, David? If you look at this picture,
no.
You don't see Arne Engels' left arm going across the defender and preventing him access to the tackle.
So I think from my point of view, McCowan's already done his little shimmy. He's already sort of shown the composure. So this isn't the slow, the still that shows McCowan's first touch of the ball. I mean, McCowan has he's already done. He's got it under control, and he's just about to tap it into the net, showing the composure that he has. I think Engels was just saying, "On you go, son. Take it from there." I don't think Brown was anywhere near getting to the ball in time, and I think that the referees were all in agreement. Another superb action by Engels.
This is a classic example of where still photographs can be very misleading, and it's a reason why VAR gets itself into a bit of trouble from time to time by making decisions based on still photographs. Now, David is absolutely 100% correct here. The defender's miles away from getting the ball at that still photo. McCowan's just about to plant the ball in the corner, and he's never getting near it. He's never getting there to make a tackle. He's a long way off Engels when the ball gets played, and he's at that point he's got no chance of getting across to get the challenge in on McCowan. So it's a very misleading picture, and again, it's another load of pish, as we'll talk to from Mr. Boyd.
Okay, well, far be it from me to side with Boydie. But yeah, why don't you take it away then? Start us off, Stephen, with that, your response to little Chrissy Boyd.
Well, look, I love it. I love it when he's ranting and raving and just going on and on and on about things like that, because it means he's rattled. He's completely rattled. He doesn't know what to do. He's sat in there. They're forcing him to watch. Firstly, I don't even know why he's there. Why they've drove him all the way up to the Highlands to watch a Celtic game? Surely there's someone else they could have who's going to provide a more balanced point of view on the game. There's got to be someone else. But I just love watching him ranting and raving like that, because he knows he's watching a team that's streets ahead of his own team. He knows that his team are at an absolute disaster area, an absolute bin fire, and it's all he's got. All he's got is just clutching at straws, picking out any little decision that he feels went in favour of Rangers. Sorry, went in favour of Celtic. And as we mentioned before, didn't mention the Hatate penalty incident. Glossed over the hand in the face of Trusty at a corner. So if you want to be a fair and balanced commentator, whether you're a Celtic fan or a Rangers fan, you've got to mention everything. You've got to look at it in a balanced and fair way. And if he'd mentioned all these incidents, then that would have been fine. But he's only focused in on the ones that went in favour of Celtic, and that was the same for Neil McCann on Sports Scene. And that's why these guys should be treated with nothing but utter contempt.
As Celtic says here, it's quite incredible Neil McCann is questioning that penalty on Yang, and in the same breath saying that AJ should be getting a red. David, you find those commentators?
To be fair, I think that Boyd is quite balanced. He's got chips on both shoulders. He seems to have and I'm here all week. I recommend the veal. No, I thought that as Stephen said, I mean, when you listen to some of these other commentators on Sports Scene, etc., I reckon that Boyd was brought up for the game because they were expecting us to drop points. When you looked at the team that we had, you could argue it was a bit experimental with two up front. But no, for me, it's brilliant watching Boyd as he loses it, and him and Sutton just winds him up relentlessly. And at the end of it, he was saying to him, do you want a cuddle? Can we get somebody get his medication? I mean, Sutton was just loving it. I mean, it was a bit like last week when Sutton was talking about the Belgian waffle, and McFadden nearly spat his tea out if he'd been drinking any. It's all part of winding Boyd up, and Boyd falls for it time and time again.
Yeah.
I think Chris Boyd's just trying to be the Rangers version of Chris Sutton. He obviously watches a lot of Chris Sutton. I think he's got Chris Sutton DVDs, and he just watches and tries to be the Rangers version of Chris Sutton. But unfortunately for him, he's just not funny, and that's where he falls down. He's just not smart. He's not funny, and he's a hunt dick. So and he will always be that, no matter what he tries to do. So he's flogging a dead horse, but it's good entertainment for us, but hilarious stuff.
Good entertainment. It's almost like that's an introduction for us to tell him that it's time for him to shut up at his face again. Is that what you're suggesting, Stephen?
Yes, that's exactly where I was going.
It's a song about a fellow baldy Chrissy Boyd. 1, 2, 3, 4, little Chrissy Boyd loved the Rangers when he was wee. Got to play for them, now he talks on TV. Never make much sense, he's made to look a fool by the other Chris. The one that is a cool. Boy, they're making me sick, cannot win an argument. Always contradict, he never quite sure what he meant. Just to make a few quid as a pundit but low rent. Where's his dignity, eh? And the Timaloys, eh? What's the matter, you? Hey, got no respect. Always blowing Rangers, crying about Celtic. raging all the time. You should know your place, I shut up in your face. Another big accordion solo. In the post-match, Sutton twists you into knots. You get so angry, your hair plug's gonna pop. Your mouth is turning down, but you don't change a thing. Still a dance and a sing, like the loyal little Sevco puppet you are. What's the matter, you? Hey, gotta no respect. Always blowing rangers, crying about Celtic, raging all the time. You should know your place, I shut up in your face. And one more time for the misspelled Chris. What's the matter, you? Hey, gotta no respect. Always blowing rangers, crying about Celtic, raging all the time. You should know your place, I shut up in your face. The gift that keeps giving there. Who's the French
I suspect we're going to be wheeling that one out for a few more seasons until the day there where he's finally carted off to the Institute.
Yeah. No, it's good to have these evergreen ones, you know, as opposed to ones for players that then disappear or fall out of favour. Yeah, Chris Boyd will always be there and will always be a figure of fun, you would think.
Never trust a Chris who spells it with a K.
Yeah, it's a shocking spelling. All right.
The Chris.
Okay. What's next on the agenda then? Well, yeah. I mean, let's talk a little bit about Kyogo then, because, you know, there's all that talk about the MLS recently and people poo-pooing it. And then he played up front with Ida, or the two of them were on the pitch at the same time, let's say. Two strikers, but he was obviously in a wider position. But as somebody said in the comments, that worked quite well. Are you concerned at all, David, that Kyogo didn't celebrate a great deal?
No, because for me, when I listened to the post-match interview, Kyogo was more disappointed that he had missed a couple of chances. You know, I think it's very entertaining when he does the post-match interview in English. You remember the one when you know, when he hit down to the left, you know, against Sevco, and he just went, "Oh wow, goal!" You know, I think he was more sort of unhappy about his performance in the first half. I mean, I've seen Maeda do that as well. Do you remember the one where Maeda scored an absolute worldie, and 2 minutes before he had done one of his sclaffs, and because he had made such a balls up with the first one, even though the second one was an absolute top class goal, he didn't really celebrate that much. So I wouldn't read anything into that about Kyogo, you know, being unhappy or, you know, he's on his way. For me, it was just someone who's very professional, who realises that, you know, he was expected to score at least one of the chances in the first half, and he didn't do it. So I wouldn't be reading anything into that about, you know, him not celebrating, so he must be off.
Yeah, he certainly does do the humility bit brilliantly. There's reports now again about Kvistgarden maybe coming in. And possibly we have all three till the end of the season. Stephen, how would you feel about that?
Yeah, well, I've been banging this drum for a while now. If you want to replace Kyogo, and if Kyogo feels he's done everything he can at Celtic and he wants to make the move, then that's fine. But we have to do that. That's the way it works. That's the way the transfer model should work. The replacement should be in the building before he leaves, and a long time before he leaves, because we've got too much still to play for this season. I know the league's, you know, pretty much in the bag, but we've got a treble to win, and we've got European football, which we look as if we've got a great chance of getting into the latter stages of the Champions League for the first time in forever. So we really need Kyogo for that, or we need someone in the mould of Kyogo, and that guy might be Kvistgarden, but it might not be, and he might take, you know, generally speaking, strikers take a little bit of time to bed in. I know certainly Kyogo did, and it took the rest of the team a little bit of time to start finding Kyogo's runs and start anticipating, how he plays. And I think that would be the same with any striker. So even if we sign this guy and Kyogo leaves, I'd be quite concerned about that impact. Not in the league, because I think we've got that sewn up, but how that would affect our chances in the playoff round of the Champions League, should we get there, as we all hope we do. So, yeah, I don't think they can sell him, and I really don't think they will.
I don't think he's going anywhere in January. I don't. But you never know. Stranger things have happened. We're not in charge of these things. Now, David, Greg Taylor is a player that's also obviously in the news quite a lot for a variety of reasons. He may or may not be off somewhere. He's been linked with a whole bunch of clubs now. You sort of conceptualized the embryonic stages of a song about Greg Taylor, didn't you? Based on what tune was it?
Taylor's for Sailor Rent, that one.
King of the Road.
Yep.
Is that the song? Well, your wish is our command.
Oh,
I've been sent by Mickey in Italy this lovely little ditty just for you, David. So let's play that.
Tailors for sailor rent. We won't even get 50 cents. His contract's up in May. We better get Kieran Tierney. Greg served us well these years, but if he leaves, there'll be no tears. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, A Celtic World.
There you go, 2 in 1. A wee ditty, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. 250 people watching live. If you're new here, do us a favor, tickle the little subscribe button. We won't annoy you too much. There's only 2 shows a week, so we're not going to inundate you with notifications. And it's completely free. There's nothing behind the paywall. Nobody owns us. Surprisingly, we don't have access rights to Celtic Football Club, so we've got nothing to lose by being cheeky about them, if needs be. The powers that be, right, Stephen? Huh? Nobody silences us.
No, we will not be silenced. We are the voices of the people. But I must admit, though, I found that one very disrespectful to Greg Taylor. So I'm going to get right on the phone to Brendanrodgers. And he's not going to be happy when he sees that. Let me tell you this.
Yep. Yeah, great job by Michael there. I wonder if there's a chance of getting my ROSCEL song, getting him to do a version of that one, do that one properly. But yeah, great job. Molto grazie, Michael.
Oh, very good.
Without treading on anyone's toes, maybe we could get Mickey to do all the musical stuff. Very good, wasn't he? Guitar as well, bringing his own music.
Well, that's all we've got time for tonight. That's all we've got time for. We'll have to wrap it up there. No, let's all come together in the spirit of unity. UNITY. That was in the thumbnail, because there is unity where we are. Are you familiar with the song UNITY by Queen Latifah? Either of you hungry hip hoppers? No, you surprised me.
CEO.
Yeah.
No.
I thought you'd be down with the old hip hop. UNITY. Anyway, Queen Latifah, who was much better known as a rap artist before she became an actor. Anyway, we're united, they're not. Talk to us, David, about the latest goings on over in Ibrox and how much you enjoyed all that spectacle.
It's just the gift that keeps on giving.
Well, that's Chris Boyd.
Well, I mean, as I say, I think it's all, the Union Bears were, were sort of, I think there was about 100 people left. And it gave some of them a chance to have a wee fight with each other. I mean, historically, they're bad winners, they're bad losers. It was no real surprise. And I think someone posted in one of the groups that maybe there were a few Tim Posters who had told the Union Bears that, there's going to be pure millions. Everyone's going to leave at 55 minutes, everyone's going to leave. I thought it was nice of St Johnstone to score in the 54th minute, just to give them an excuse to leave. But
That's right.
it was, it's just fantastic. I mean, it's the banter years have been going for as long as I can remember, and long may they continue. It is absolutely fantastic.
Craig Young, the comedy is pervasive. It starts at minute 1 and goes right to the end of the hour. Appalled that you don't think there's been any comedy. Well, there's plenty of comedy in Ibrox, especially what Chris says here. Fighting with each other when winning 3-0, throwing coins at each other. There was people throwing coins on the exiting Union Bears. My goodness. And lots of hand gestures and shouts and whistles and boos. So that sort of rallying call didn't quite work out the way they had intended, right, Steve?
Yeah, clearly not. I think the funniest thing about it all is that they felt the need to do this on the 55th minute. And this obsession they have with the number 55 sort of just sums them up, really, isn't it? They keep trying to remind themselves or trying to convince themselves that they're not a new club and that they didn't start 12 years ago. And at the same time, this nonsense that on their banner that the fans gave everything. The fans gave nothing. That's the problem. That's how they ended up being liquidated. The fans stood back and let it happen. The fans just believed it was all made up. It was all made up by mischief-making Tims, and it was never going to happen to them. The big house will never close. Remember that one? And It did. And they just stood by and let it happen. So this notion that the fans did everything and the board are now not doing enough to justify what the fans have done. The board are doing exactly what the fans did, that they're all doing nothing. They're just in a mess entirely of their own making. And it was all driven by hubris and envy of Celtic and trying to chase us and just not being able to cope with the fact that they're going to be second best in Scotland for a number of years. And they need to accept that. And that's what's grinding their gears, and that's why they're all falling out. And it's just hilarious. It's hilarious to watch the whole walkout by the Union Bears, the whole punches being swapped with guys inside the stadium, the booing, and the fact that they've done it on the 55th minute. They couldn't think of any other significant moment in the game that would make some sort of spurious point, and that they've chose this sort of random number. So. Yeah, it's absolutely hilarious, and long may it continue. I really hope they don't sack Clement now, because
that's what I was going to move it on to, because
we need to see this.
That's the whole thing that spurred it. Their new CEO, is it, or chairman, Patrick, talking about how he's their man and he's not for the sack now. Many of the listeners or viewers will be thinking that I was talking absolute pish earlier by suggesting Engels was trying to shoot. That's fine, but I'm allowed to claim that I have been right for some time, that Clement was not acting like a guy whose job was under threat, and he didn't sound like a guy whose job was under threat in post-match conferences. Press conferences. So I've been saying that for some time, so I'm going to definitely afford myself a little for at least being right on that. If anyone would like to jump in and say I'm talking pish on that front, Stephen.
So do you think that Patrick Stewart gave him a vote of confidence?
Well, I think what Patrick Stewart did was
I think it was the exact opposite. I think it was the opposite. I think he basically said to him, "You've got a certain amount of time to improve these results, or you're out the door." Now that's a very, very different thing from saying you're our man. You've got the development of the club in your hands, and you're going to have the leeway to carry out this plan over a number of years. He said there are no guarantees, and results have to improve. So that could be interpreted for saying if they drop points this week, he's out of job. So it wasn't a vote of confidence. And setting aside the fact that when your chairman or CEO gives you a vote of confidence in a manager, then generally they get sacked the following week. So I
agree it wasn't a vote of
what's
confidence.
coming.
I agree it wasn't a vote of confidence, but nor was it, I think, what you're characterizing. What I think has happened is when he re-signed his contract earlier in the year, they said to him, look, we are in a terrible flipping state here. We have to impose austerity. You have to trim the wage bill. You can bring in your own players, but you got to get rid of all this deadwood. It's going to be a tough job. We know this season's gone. You know, just finish second, or, you know, don't finish anywhere too appalling. The fans will be up in arms, but they'll suck it up. You're here for the longer term. We're not going to keep on sacking managers. They told him that way back then. When this fella, Patrick Stewart, came in, he was told that that's the situation he's walking into. And he's just repeating that message loud and clear. And now the fans realise that their actions and their gurning up until now have been completely ineffective. And they're not being listened to, hence the fact they're trying to step it up. David, what's your take?
Yeah, no, sure. I agree with you 100% there, Gav. I mean, for me, he keeps talking about the project. I'm not sure what project he's talking about, but, you know, the fact that, you know, that seems to be the party line, that, you know, he swaps people about as part of some grand master plan that's going to take, you know, maybe a year to 2 years. So, yeah, I reckon he's here for the medium to long term, which is fantastic for us.
But unless things go absolutely tits up, of course, there's no guarantees. If he starts losing every game and slides down the table and then finds himself in 6th or something with a game or two to go before the split, you know, then, you know, the hammer might fall out of desperation.
The language is no different from what you hear at any club. Any club CEO chairman will always say that they're backing the manager. The manager's getting a plan, because what's the alternative? Say, well, if he doesn't win next week, he's out of job. You know, they're not going to say that. They're always going to say, no, he's the man. He's here for the long term, until he isn't. And that's what I expect to happen over the next couple of weeks. You know, if they carry on the way they've been going, they've got some difficult away games coming up. They're away to Dundee United. I think they've got Aberdeen this week, although they're not in a very good run of form. If he were to drop points in any of those 2 games, I think you might find he'll go. And it's all very well Patrick Stewart saying he's got faith in him, but the fans haven't. He's lost the fans. You can see that. The fans are just champing at the bit for him to get sacked.
Aren't of any importance.
And that's what. Yeah, but that's not true, though, is it? That's not true. The fans are your primary revenue stream, and that's it. Was a boycott of a game that drove Fergus McCann's takeover to happen at Celtic in the mid-90s. So the fans are a very, very important part of this. And if they do start to boycott games, unfortunately, you know, they're too stupid to know this. And instead they'll just fight with each other. But if they want to drive change, then they have to withdraw their revenue from the club, and that's the only thing that matters. So it's not true at all to say that the fans can't influence this, and we've seen that historically.
Okay, fair enough. I take that back. But they've had no influence so far. All their gurning has had no influence, because he should have been sacked several times over, if you compare what happened to previous managers. So the board are trying to walk the line of trying to get the fans to sort of accept this new reality, and it's not going to be comfortable.
I think also financially, because all the money's come from season tickets. You know, I think if it was earlier in the season when the fans could have voted with their pockets, it might have been a different story. But you know, they've paid up their season tickets. I saw somewhere where they were saying that for all the money you've spent in season tickets, because you walked out of the game, we're not giving you tickets for the Man United game, which again, I think they're just shooting themselves in the foot again. It's just fantastic to watch.
Okay, we'll continue to enjoy that then. Better wrap it up. We've gone over the hour already. Just got a couple of little things to share. I saw this tweet. I think this was from Paul Larkin, but I've cut the top of it off. Look at Pele heading the ball there. Look how high he is off the ground. Isn't that insane? Great picture.
Yeah, incredible.
And he would give Martin O'Neill a run for his money, wouldn't he? What age is Martin O'Neill
Yeah, that's
that he's
brilliant.
still got that spring in his step?
That's one of my favourite photos. Yeah.
It's a classic, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a
Absolute
couple
classic.
of angry-looking Huns in the background as well in that picture as well. So if
Always
you
helps.
zoom in on them. Yeah.
Yeah, and every good picture needs to have that sort of backdrop. All right. Well, look, it's been a fun chat. We've agreed on some things, not on other things. Most people were wrong about one particular subject. That's fine. Everyone's allowed their opinion. That's absolutely fine. Stephen, did you enjoy that rigorous interchange of ideas and opinions?
Well, that's what we're about, isn't it? It's about debate. It's about everyone getting the chance to express themselves, even when they're talking pish.
David?
I'm kind of new to this, to the group, so I don't want to be getting sent off before I've.
Come on, David, tell it like it is, mate. Don't stand the fence.
Come on, you know my views on Hatate, but no, I think in this one we were bang to rights there. Engels' pass was a thing of beauty.
Well, I don't agree. And let's end on a moment of discord. Why not? All right. We will see you back on Thursday, everyone. Thank you very much, everyone in chat, as always. The chat's kind of gone a bit off. I don't know. They've been talking about rainbow and all sorts of things. They've stopped listening to us about 10 minutes ago.
4-0 tomorrow, by the way.
Oh, yeah. You want to do some score predictions before we leave? Stephen?
Yeah, I think we'll win. I don't think it will be as comfortable as that, though. I think I go maybe 2-0 Celtic.
Yeah, hoping for another 3 points. Yeah, I'll go 2-0. No, I'll split the difference, go 3-0. Why not? For a laugh. All right. So thank you very much, everyone in the chat. Like I say, I don't understand some of the comments that are going flying around, to be honest. But at least everyone's enjoying themselves, and that's what it's all about. We're one big, diverse, happy Celtic world family. All right, lads. See you all on Thursday. Cheerio, bye.
They will.